Chakaraka chichacho, chakaloram, gando, wando, lakarakam, akko, takko, idigidigidigo, idipai, chiki chakacho, giligiliman, sulusuluman, wakanak, bukubukuri, tukubukuri, chakalaka, bikko, chiki, agasigidigidigo, takadum, chiki chakacho.
देखो देखो क्या वो पेड़ है चादर ओढ़े या खड़ा कोई हे देखो देखो क्या वो पेड़ है चादर ओढ़े या खड़ा कोई बारिश है या आसमान ने छोड़ दिए हैं नल खुले कहीं हम जैसे देखे ये जहां है वैसा ही जैसी नजर अपनी खुल के सोचे आओ पंख जरा फैलाओ रंग नए बिखराओ चलो 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 नए ख्वाब बुन ले
Off to the right there you'll see the Silver Terrace Cemetery. Now the Silver Terrace Cemetery is made up of a number of different sections, including a Catholic, a Protestant, a Knights of Pythias, an Oddfellows, and a Masons. They have a railroaders section, a miners section, a firemen's section. They even have a little Irish section in there. All in all, we have about 15 cemeteries in the Virginia City area, most of which are located right there in the Silver Terrace, and it is open for walking tours. We do have a few others. Across the canyon to the left there, you can see that gray tailing pile. On the other side of that tailing pile is a Chinese cemetery. Down the bottom of the canyon there and up about a quarter mile is a Jewish cemetery. Excuse me. We do have one more little one. I call it a one-plot cemetery. In the late 1800s, just up the street here, we had a red light district. One of the ladies that worked there's name was Julia Villette. Well, Julia Villette was robbed and murdered one night. The firemen thought a lot of her. They wanted to bury her in their section of the cemetery. Ladies of the town, however, disagreed, and well, the firemen did lose that battle. They ended up burying Julia over across the canyon. Can't really see her gravesite too well, but take my word for it. If you consider the Charlie pointing at 12 o'clock, her gravesite is about 10 o'clock. About halfway up the hillside there, just below that little flat spot of a road, there is a slight white speck over there. That's the white picket fence around her gravesite. Like I said, don't worry if you can't see. It's pretty hard to pick out. That wasn't the whole story, though. The firemen, they didn't take Julie out of town quietly. They organized a parade down the main drag of C Street. They had 15 wagons, a marching band, all the fire companies of Virginia City and Gold Hill, all gathered together, taking Julie out of town for one last ride. As you may know, I probably told that story more than a few times. I'm beginning to think that them firemen might have had a little message in that parade for the wives of the town. Well, getting back to McLaughlin, O'Reilly, and Comstock and the Ophir mine, they worked that mine for a short period of time. Found an opportunity and sold it for $45,000. That was a lot of money in the 1860s. They left town quite happy. Their smiles didn't last too long, though. The new owners of the mine, while they were mining the gold, they were removing a blue clay. Some claim they even paved the streets with that clay. One of the miners took a sample down to Grass Valley, California. Nevada City down there had an assay office. When he got back, he changed everything. They found out that that blue clay was worth about $900 a ton in gold and over $3,000 a ton in silver. And that's not today's prices either, folks. That's when gold was $20 an ounce. Silver was but $1 an ounce. But it was the start of the big bonanza up here in the Comstock. Folks came up here by the thousands. Some just looking for work. Others came up here to make their fortune. George Hearst came up here from California, made a fortune in the mine. He used that money to start the Hearst newspaper dynasty. His son, William Randolph, inherited that dynasty and built the Hearst Castle in California. All due to the fortune his dad made right up here on the Comstock. This flat area on our left was the Virginia and Truckee Railroad Yard. Now the V&T Railroad was known as Queen of the Short Lines. It was in operation from 1869 to one time they had 22 steam locomotives operating between 40 and 45 trips a day. In 1872, they opened up a spur from Carson City to Reno to tie in with the Central Pacific. That spur stayed in operation until 1950. The red building on our left is the old freight depot. I'll point out the ticket office a little further in the tour. On the right side of Charlie, this block and the next block were known as the Red Light District. Ladies worked in little cabins that were referred to as cribs, as in baby cribs. Down the hill to the left, you can see that large tan tailing pile. That's from the Consolidated California and Virginia mines. They were the largest mining operation on the Comstock. They mined $110 million worth of gold and silver. In the late 1800s, we had more than 22 mines in operation. They dug over 750 miles of shafts, drifts, and tunnels underneath Virginia City and Gold Hill, many of which are still standing today, being held up by timbers brought over from the Lake Tahoe Basin. The yellow building on the left is the Comstock History Center. Can't see it too well, but in the window there's the date. Number 18 steam locomotive, rebuilt for static display only. Little monument on the right here to the Red Light District. Down the hill to the left, that multi-story brick building with the white porch is St. Mary Louise's Hospital. That was run by the Sisters of Mercy in the late 1800s. Remained a hospital till the early 1940s. Now an art center, they do have overnight accommodations there for groups. We do also have a number of hotels, our mansion. That was a mining office and a residence for the owners of the mine in the 1800s. Ahead of that, we have the fourth floor school. Built in 1875. It has 4 floors and 14 classrooms. It was built to accommodate over 1,000 students. It is one of the first schools in the West to have forced air heat, water fountains on all 4 floors, and indoor plumbing. That school was closed in 1936, due in part to the open pit mine over here to the left. It is one of the last schools of its kind in this country and is open daily for tours. Carrying up and down the side of the mountain, we have close to 30,000 residents. In back of us in Gold Hill, another 10,000. We had 109 saloons, 50 dry goods stores, including a Tiffany's outlet, 35 hotels and boarding houses, along with 22 restaurants, 6 churches, 5 schools, and 17 breweries. The gold and silver from the Comstock altered the monetary standards of the world, fostered many new industries, helped build San Francisco in the 1800s, helped rebuild San Francisco after the 1906 earthquake. On October 31st, 1864, Nevada was admitted to the Union as the 36th state, due in no small part to the gold and silver of the Comstock. The senators helped ratify the 13th Amendment. After the Civil War was over, President Grant came out here to this building on the right. That's the Savage Mansion. He spoke from that second floor balcony there, thanking the folks of the Comstock for their help in the North when in the Civil War. Now mining office is not open for tours. Here we like to tell the story of a couple of miners. For one reason or another, disliked each other. One miner purchased a piece of property up here, began building his home. When the second miner found out about it, he bought the adjacent property. When the first miner was about done with his house, the second miner moved his house to the other end of town. He said, I'm going to put my house so close to that man's house that he'll not be able to enjoy the cool breezes of summer or the warming sun in the winter. Take a look out the right side of Charlie, folks. The red and white houses on the street below. As we pass by them, look between them and see just how close together they are. Now, personally, I think that miner accomplished his mission. We call them the spite houses for obvious reasons. The Chapin house here is last of the old boarding houses, built in 1862, according to the sign anyway. Down below there is the front side of the Mackey Mansion I mentioned earlier. And Margaret's down there, that's her in the chair. She'd be happy to give you a little tour. Now, if you look to the left on the street above, there's 2 tan buildings. That's the carriage house and the castle. The carriage house was rebuilt several years ago, using all the original specifications. They even brought in square nails from Pennsylvania. Now, the castle itself was built in 1879, modeled after a castle fixtures throughout the house. Unfortunately, they did shut it down to tours a few years ago. First Presbyterian church on the left was built 1866. All your noses, folks, here's stinky. This church and the next 13 businesses down the street past the old Washoe Club were spared that fire of 1875. Late one night in October of 1875, a miner living in a boarding house a couple of blocks up knocked over an oil lamp and started a fire. It was a very windy night, as we've been known to have up here in the Comstock. By morning, that fire had destroyed 90% of the businesses, 1,000 homes and the churches, as I mentioned earlier. But it was, after all, the heyday of Virginia City. Within a few months, they were rebuilt back in operation. Comstock Firemen's Museum on the right, closed today. Also on the right is the Gunfighters Corral. They're going to have another gunfight at 3 o'clock. On the left, we have the old Washoe Club. It was said to have the Millionaires Club on the second floor. At one time, they claimed 184 members. The bar downstairs is the oldest bar in Virginia City, being it survived that fire. Also right here on the left is the Ponderosa Saloon and Mine Tour. The miners in the back portion of the saloon. They'll take you into one of the old tunnels of Virginia City. It's also the Bank of California building, and they have the vault in there, but don't close anybody in. The one thing we didn't get was the combination. Now, the last building on the right up here is the Territorial Enterprise. That was Nevada's first newspaper. Sam Clemens came out here in 1862 to work there as a reporter. While he was out in the Comstock, he penned the name Mark Twain. Lived up here less than 2 years, though. The story goes he got in a fight with a man, challenged a man to a duel. Well, dueling was illegal even up here on the Comstock in the 1800s, and a number of Mark Twain's friends talked him into leaving town. That was probably a good idea. I was told Mark Twain was a pretty lousy shot. Delta Saloon and Cafe across the street invite you in. The back portion of the casino, they have the suicide table. They have a letter on the wall telling you why they call it the suicide table. A little bit about the game of Pharaoh played on that table. Bucket of Blood invites you in. They say that was such a rowdy bar in the old days, and when they mucked it out in the morning, the mop bucket was red from the previous night's fight. As we pull around a corner, if you look above the Delta, you see the Story County Courthouse, built 1876. Lady Justice on that second floor balcony right there is not blindfolded. One of the few justices left in this country not blindfolded. That is the county seat for Story County, of which Virginia City is a part. Does have business also open throughout the week. Mario here, give you guys a little flyer for the Delta across the street. Well, thank you for riding with me today. If you wait, I'll come around and get the stools down. Help anyone who may need it. The balcony right there is not blindfolded. One of the few justices left in this country not blindfolded. That is the county seat for Story County, of which Virginia City is a part. Does have business also open throughout the week. Mario here, give you guys a little flyer for the Delta across the street. Well, thank you for riding with me today. If you wait, I'll come around and get the stools down. Help anyone who may